Browns wrap up day one of the NFL draft here in Berea, and they made some waves early on, trading the number 2 pick and the opportunity to take Travis Hunter, instead taking Mason Graham at number 5. So let's talk about this in the 2 parts, Mary Kay. First, the decision to not take Travis Hunter at number 2 and allow the Jaguars to come up and select him.
Well, I think the whole key here is the fact that they can transform this football team with the haul that they got in this trade. And if they play their cards right, they can be sitting very pretty over the next 2 years. Not only do they have a double whammy this year in round 2 with having the 33 and the 36 pick on Friday, but now they also have 2 first-round picks next year, and they're perfectly poised to trade up for a quarterback in the event they're still looking for Mr. Right after this season. So when you look at it like, oh, they didn't get Travis Hunter and they got Mason Graham instead, that can kind of give fans maybe a meh feeling. But if you look at the big picture, they got so much back in return for only moving down 3 spots.
And to Andrew Berry's credit, he did lay it out to us afterwards, how he mentioned that they added picks this year in a spot where they thought the draft was really strong, and then picks next year in a draft that they think is stronger in the top 30. So at the very least, Ashlehy, he kind of laid out a vision of, like Mary Kay mentioned, kind of that 2-year plan to really infuse this roster with young talent.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that he straight up led with they think next year's draft class has the possibility to be stronger, because that's what everyone has been saying since late fall, early winter about this draft class. And I think we kind of saw a lot of things come to fruition with that, particularly with how the quarterbacks all fell tonight, or didn't fall, so to speak. But I also think the interesting comment he made was saying they're going to have to do something with these picks now. And I think that's so true. We know the hit rate for first-round picks. There's been tons of studies on it. The one I found that I put in my column, for most position groups, you're looking at anywhere from 50 to 60% hit rates. It's not very high on first-round picks. So they're going to have to do something with these picks. And I understand some of the meh feelings, to use Mary Kay's wording, around this deal just because of that. Draft picks are unknown entities, and they're going to have to still make something of them.
Well, one of the knowns, of course, is Mason Graham, and he was universally thought to be the best defensive tackle in this class, thought to be a top 5 pick. So at the very least, Mary Kay, in the trade down, they do get a pretty good player, a guy that can come in and help this defensive line probably right away, and that defensive tackle position can be really important for a guy like Myles Garrett. I think sometimes that pressure on the inside can really help the edge rushers, and that's what they're really trying to get out of Mason Graham in this defensive line.
Absolutely, 100%. Defensive tackle has become a premium position in the NFL. It's sought after. Those guys are wreaking havoc, hitting the jackpot, and it's been like the it position lately in the NFL. So that's why you see them keep going after these defensive tackles. Last year it was Mike Hall. Now it's Mason Graham. They hope those 2 guys in the middle can form a 2-man wrecking crew and really wreak havoc on these quarterbacks from the inside. So we'll see how it goes. I've watched a number of clips of Mason Graham leading up to this draft. He is very aggressive. He's got a high motor. He's very disruptive. That's what they're looking for.
And Ashlehy, Andrew Berry said that he just fits the Browns' DNA on that defensive line. And we know that Jim Schwartz, for as much as they talk about the secondary and all of that, the engine of this defense is that defensive line. His best defenses have always been built around a line that just causes chaos. So again, that's where they're hoping Mason Graham can fit.
And again, look at the Philadelphia Eagles winning a Super Bowl this past year. We've talked a lot about that defensive line where there isn't one quote-unquote star necessarily in terms of sack production. They get it from up and down their line. And I think with the Browns, like we all know, they've basically, even though they've tried to revamp that D-tackle room, it still has been a struggle these last few years. You look at 2 years ago, they drafted Siaki Ika. His time here doesn't really work out. Obviously, they just kind of cut their losses with Dalvin Tomlinson after giving him a huge contract a couple of years ago. Now, Mike Hall was good in small spurts, but they still have some work to do to fill out that room. So Mason Graham definitely could get a lot of run here early as a rookie, and it, by all accounts, seems like he's prepared for it.
Okay, now, Friday got very interesting because obviously the Browns added that 36th pick. They already have the 33rd pick, and only 2 quarterbacks went in the first round. Cam Ward, as expected, number 1 overall, and then Jackson Dart was picked by the New York Giants, who traded up into the 20s to take him. So that means Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shook, all those quarterbacks still on the board. A lot of talent still on the board as far as tight ends, wide receivers, running backs. It's going to be a very busy Friday for the Browns, especially early, Mary Kay.
I think the big decision for the Browns is, do they see a quarterback there with value that they really like? As you mentioned, Jalen Milroe is still there. Tyler Shook is still there. Some of the best quarterbacks are still on the board. Shedeur Sanders, who, of course, we all thought for a long time they would take at number 2, is still there. So with picks 33 and 36, I think you have to kind of be thinking, are they going to take a quarterback at one of these spots? But they're not going to force it. We know that. Jimmy Haslam has told us that. Andrew Berry has told us that. But I do think they have the potential to really bolster their offense with these 2 picks somehow, some way, whether it's running backs, tight ends, receivers, maybe even a quarterback.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, there are good receivers. There are good running backs. So they could decide, look, we have that first-round pick next year. We're going to worry about quarterback next year. Let's just keep adding offensive talent so that we can just drop that guy into the cockpit next year and be a pretty good football team. This is going to be fascinating very quickly, Ashlehy.
It is. That's where my head kind of went initially as this first round ended tonight, especially you look at the running backs and the way that board has fallen right now. Both of the Ohio State guys still out there. Trey Henderson, whose stock has steadily risen, I think, this draft cycle. Quinshon Judkins, and then Cam
Scataboo.
I can't pronounce the name right. It's been a struggle all night. It's so late and I froze, so thank you, Dan. They're all still there, and there's also a couple of really good tight ends that I know we've all talked about. Mason Taylor, Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them just kind of add to their offensive weapons in that way if they don't feel strongly about one of these QBs.
It's my fault because I was rehearsing the name Donovan Ezaraku before Ashlehy had to say that, so it's all my fault. Blame me. All right, we will have full coverage of everything that happened here in round 1, and of course we'll cover everything that happens Friday and Saturday, all at cleveland.com/Browns.